Okay, now we're going to use the elastic foot. The elastic foot I use for several different reasons. First of all, it's to apply elastic. So you have a little guide here. So actually, I have set up my machine for a 4-thread overlock. So therefore, my settings are overlock, stitch selector on A, because I've got both needles, both overlock needles in. Differential feed, I'll just leave it at neutral for now. And then I'm going to set my stitch length to one of the longer stitches. Yeah, well, I'll probably leave it around. I'm going to set my stitch length to about 3 and my blade width to M. Okay, the first thing I need to do is set this guide for my elastic. Again, you've got a screw there, so that means that is a guide to be moved. Start again. So I need to make this guide fit this elastic. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push on the guide, and I want to put my elastic in here and push it, pull it up underneath of the foot here, all the way to the edge of the foot. And now I need to move this guide, so I'm going to unscrew it, loosen this. I'm going to set this guide so that it just fits the width of the elastic, and it'll accommodate elastic up to about 1 inch wide. Okay. What this little knob does is this regulates how much pressure is put on the elastic, or how much stretch you want the elastic to have. This has a little red guide and it used to have a little sticker with lines on it. It doesn't anymore, it fell off. But anyway, this little red line gives you an indicator of how tight you are stretching your elastic. If you have a foot for the 4-thread machines, it does not have this red line. So, but you screw it down, the tighter you go, the lower that red line is, the tighter the stretch. Okay, and now I'm going to put the foot on the machine. And I want to make sure the elastic is clearly underneath of the feed dogs. Okay, so I can straighten that out. And then, again, depending on how far down I screw this tension screw, determines how much stretch I get out of the elastic. And I've got it up a little bit. I don't need too much. Okay, so I have my blade engaged, so you can cut. For this is the 4-thread. I can just cut as I go. So, and this is all there is to it. Stretch that a little more. And see how well this stretches the elastic for you, and it's nice and neat. Okay, now this is right now is being used with a 4-thread overlock, but this could also be used with a Flatlock. Okay, this time I've set up my machine for a 3-thread narrow Flatlock, which meant I've just changed to the right overlock needle, and I've also set my stitch selector at D. Select that stitch selector is now at D, and so now we're going to go ahead and stitch this. I'll just do this on the other side. My blade is engaged so I can cut. Okay, and again I this down. Okay, I have finished sewing the Flatlock, and so now to make it a true Flatlock, I'm going to just open up the stitching. Just massage them open. And now you've got your elastic at the edge of a piece of fabric. And that you would use for like a lingerie technique. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you is how to apply wire or fishing line to the edge of a piece of fabric to give it a stiffer edge. Okay, now to use the elastic foot in order to create that ripply edge along a woven fabric, you need to use fishing line. You could also use wire, really thin gauge wire, in case you wanted to make a wired pew bow or a decorative bow for a floral arrangement. So I'm going to use a 3-thread rolled edge, and I'm going to put woolly nylon into the upper looper only. I'm going to put regular thread in my needle and my lower looper, but I like to use woolly nylon or Lana or designer 6 or some nice thick thread so that it gives you greater coverage. So this defies being threaded because it is so wispy. It does not want to go through the jet air. You could use the wire loop that came with your machine in order to thread this thicker thread through the looper, but I prefer to use a thread cradle. And how you make a thread cradle is you take a piece of regular thread about 1 yard long, take the 2 cut ends, engage my threading tubes. So I'm going to put the 2 cut ends into the threading port. I'm going to hold on to the loop end, push it through, and see it's already come through here. So I'm going to take my woolly nylon down to about a lap, put about 1 inch of this through this loop right here, and pull it through. You don't want to tie a knot at the top and pull your threads through. You could damage the real delicate O-rings that are in your jet air or extraordinaire threading system. So as a reminder, for the 3-thread overlock rolled edge, what I have done is I've set my stitch selector at D, and I've got my blade engaged because I want it to cut. My stitch length I'm going to set down to about 1 rolled, so it's going to go past 0, and you want the little lines right here to see that it's on the rolled edge. Disengage my threading tubes and I'm ready to go. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to thread in my fishing line, and I'm using ordinary fishing line right here. It's red just so you can see it, and it's going to thread through. Before I put the foot on the machine, you'll see a little hole right here, so I'm going to put this in through that hole, and there is another hole right here. If you can see that, see right here, this little hole right there, I'm going to thread that through and put it under the foot. Now I'm going to put my foot in. Okay, I'm going to put my differential feed all the way down because I want it to stretch a little bit, because I want it to ripple. Okay, I've put my foot on the machine. Here's my wire. I take a few stitches by hand just to hold that wire in. Although that wire does move freely, it should move freely. It should go back and forth freely. So again, my blade is engaged and I'm rolled, and I'm just going to stitch. And I've got my differential feed down, and what I want to do every once in a while is pull on the back, pull the fabric. You can see I'm pulling this fabric to stretch it out a little bit. And see, if I pull on this, it can give it a little bit of rippling, especially if you're going along the bias. I only have a tiny bit of rippling because I'm doing this on the straighter grain. But as I stretch this out, then this will ripple. Now, if you want to get more ripple out of this, what you need to do is take your fishing line, and you might want to use a heavier gauge. This is a real thin. This one is only a 14 pound, but I've even used as high as a 100 pound fishing line whenever I'm doing that really pretty ripply edge. Whenever you're doing the like ball gowns, you'll see at the bottom of ballroom dance gowns where it's nice and ripply and with nice undulating curves. Then I've used a bias piece of fabric to create that ripple. And then mostly what I will do is I'll take that heavy thread, a heavier gauge thread than that, and I would take, well, I'll just pretend I'll take a wooden dowel, a long wooden dowel, and I would tape this and then wind it up like this, lots and lots of this stuff, and sort of like tape it down, and I put it in like a 200-degree oven for about 5 or 10 minutes to soften up this plastic. Then or you could also put it in a microwave if it's a wooden dowel. Either way, you want to warm up this plastic so that it's nice and warm, and then what you do is you let it dry completely, and then it will have a memory. It will be more curly, so therefore when you do your ruffle, then you have even deeper undulating curves. Okay, so that's how you use the elastic foot. So if you have any questions, give us a call at Attic Treasures at 703-490-1536, or contact your nearest Babylock dealer. See you next time. Bye.